O Lord of hosts, be with us, for we have none other help in times of adversity but thee. O Lord of hosts, have mercy on us.
And so the simp leverage, so this was I was thinking about what exactly is the leverage a simp has in regards to relationships, because he can't compete as a leader, because I have one of the things written down is that they're not leaders. That's one of the primary characteristics of a simp. So the way that they have leverage is that they try to provide pleasure to the woman through money and attention and compliments. And their leverage is, at least in the simp mind, I was trying to think as a simp, if I pull that away, well, then that's me having leverage. So, well, you better like me and you better accept me, or I'm going to take away all my gifts, all my money, all my compliments, and all the attention that I adore you with. That's not leverage, bro. That's not leverage, but that is the simp leverage. Provide as many compliments, financial benefits, and happiness as possible. And so women want traditional qualities, and they're searching for them in new ways. As I said, the search for safety now is finding a man who's non-threatening and most likely won't find another woman to replace you with. So therefore, they want a man that they can dominate and walk all over. And more isolation than ever before, because one of the things that is a fact that social media has done is it's isolated us more than ever before. We are more isolated. We have weaker communities. People have less amount of friends. They have less interaction face to face with people. And even in regards to dating, the primary way in which people meet are now online. And I was looking, up articles for this stream, and people like mainstream articles talking about what a simp is, and they characterize it as it's these right-wing guys that are critical of guys that are nice to women. And so there's this right-wing movement that wants men to be hostile. It has nothing to do about being hostile to women. It has nothing to do with being hostile to women. It's about not accommodating everything possible to them. There's a big difference. But because men are so isolated, because young men, I looked at a thing earlier, I'm not going to show it during the stream, but how few men are willing to even walk up to a woman that they find attractive and talk to them face to face. That's why then that same man who won't go and talk to a woman face to face will see if she has an OnlyFans or see on her Instagram where she's posting her butt and boob photos, and then he'll DM her. He'll send her money. He'll try to do things that way because it's less threatening. And so the more isolation, men have become more reluctant to engage with women in traditional ways. Now, that is the theological frame and the sort of cultural frame I wanted to begin with. Now I want to give you my top 5 characteristics of what a simpy man is. Number one is the lack of boundaries. I've talked about this before, that masculinity in its essence is really about boundaries. When you look at the men that went to war, the men that were willing to die on a battlefield, the men that stood up for the religious beliefs, there was a boundary that they were defending. It could have been a theological boundary. It could have been a geographical boundary that was very physical. But they wanted to defend boundaries and maintain boundaries, and boundaries are essential for order. Boundaries are essential for rational apprehension. The Logos, the incarnation of Jesus Christ, is the source of all boundaries. And so because these men have no boundaries, they will capitulate to every demand a woman asks of them. And no woman, despite even these OnlyFans girls, which we'll see that love simps, no woman respects a man that has no boundaries. And I've said before that masculinity, to use a metaphor, are the castle walls, where the jewels, the women and children inside the castle walls, those are protected by the men. But because men have become so weak and the walls have fallen down, the enemy's able to go in, and now he's able to, what the latest thing is, one of these men, these transgender guys, masturbates in the female locker room at Planet Fitness. Like, that's where we get that. The idea that there's no boundary between male and female. There's no boundary between nation states. There's no boundary between man and machine. There's no boundary between man and animal. Everything is a dissolution of boundaries. When we look at our societies, we have to see that this dissolution of boundaries is predominant, and that masculinity, this is why masculinity is being attacked, because the only thing that's going to stop the recession of boundaries is men standing on those boundaries and saying, no, I'm not going to accept it. We're going to fight back. But the simp has no boundaries, and he rarely will be able to say no. You can't have a boundary in defendant without the ability to say no. And because the simp needs external validation, he will not say no to a woman. And therefore, he cannot uphold any boundary. And he will condone anything that even crosses boundaries that's wished by the woman. I saw a video from a dude in the UK who he was in this relationship with this girl. They're in their little apartment. His buddy was filming. And she's like, oh, I met a guy on Tinder. We're going to go on a date. And she's basically, it was her decision to be in an open relationship. And so he's like, oh, okay. All right, honey. Well, have a good night with him. And she ends up bringing the dude back to their own apartment. This is simpy beta male cucked behavior. Have a boundary. Stand up for something. If you don't have a boundary, your girl who's going to walk all over, especially if she's progressive, and she says, oh, I want to be in an open relationship now. I want to be in a polyamorous relationship now. You think that's going to work out well for you? Of course not. Of course not. And so the number one characteristic of a simp is he has no boundaries and he has no will to maintain them. The number two characteristic of a simp that I have is they are not a leader, but they are a follower. And that brings it back to, again, that opening conversation on what a traditional masculine man is. And he is a leader, a protector, and a provider. Now, being a leader doesn't mean that you're a leader of all men. But if you're a man and you want to get married, you have to be the leader of that household. And so every man needs to be a leader in some context. You may not be a leader at work. You may not be a leader financially in society. You may not be a leader in the hierarchies of the world. But when it comes to your household, you are king. You are the leader. You have the vision. You have the path. You have the purpose, and you have the goals. And so a beta has a difficulty making decisions because he's not a leader. He's a follower. And a person who makes ultimate decisions is always the leader. And so that's something when you're in a relationship, it's like a meme now where your girl asks you where, you ask her what you want to eat. Of course they don't know. They're open to anything. And that's a really small, minute example, but a leader makes decisions, final decisions. Andrew highlighted this in regards to money and talking about on the Whatever podcast. I caught a little bit of the one a couple of days ago. And he was talking to one girl and highlighting that if your man who you respected, who you chose, who you believe is the person for you, and he tells you what we're going to do with the money and you disagree, are you going to let him do it? Are you going to be submissive to him? And most of the girls said no. Well, the man needs to be able to make those decisions. And the simp and the beta male and the cuck who's with that woman that says no, they're going to capitulate to that woman's desires. We have to be leaders. And really, a good, successful relationship is going to be built on this dynamic because every woman wants a leader. They want the man to make the decisions. But a simp can't do it. And so he will allow the woman to be the leader. And this is the feminist revolution in our society. You see, the sexual dynamics are reversed. Everything is inverted, which from my worldview as a Christian means it's satanic. Satan tries to invert the order of God. He tries to invert the logos. He tries to invert that which is true, good, and beautiful. And that's what we have going on in the Western world. And so he's not a leader. He's a follower. He has no boundaries. Number three is he always accommodates to the woman. He always accommodates to the woman. And so pleasing a woman in her every desire becomes his biggest objective. Because why? As point number two highlighted, he already let her be the leader. She's in charge of the relationship. She's in charge of the dynamic. She's the boss babe. She's the girl boss. And he's just her little lapdog. And so they always accommodate to the desires of a woman. And I'm not saying that a healthy relationship doesn't mean that you do nice things for your partner, for your wife, for your husband, for whoever you're with. But as a man, that's not my sole intention. My sole intention in life is not to appease every desire and every willful intention you have for the pursuit of happiness. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to be in line with God. My purpose is also to follow that God-given purpose and duty that I have. And so of that pursuit, the woman follows and she likes that. She loves a man that does that. But a simp can't. A simp can only accommodate because, one, he's not a leader and he has no boundaries. He always accommodates, and therefore he thinks a woman will love him because all he wants to do is make her happy. A woman doesn't love a man because all he does is make her happy. Women, if you've been with a woman long enough, they go out of their way to make themselves unhappy, right? Women, generally speaking, can find, depending on the day, they're unhappy for something. You need to be in a steady, mental, healthy place. But you accommodating to every emotional whim that she has does not make her love you more. Now, in certain circumstances, okay, if your woman's sick, you want to help her out, you want to look over because she's ill, of great. That's what, again, you're the leader, protector, and provider. But going out of your way and stepping all over your own ego and your own self-respect to do so, that is simpy behavior. Number 4 is low self-esteem and low self-respect. You cannot be a simp and not have low self-esteem and low self-respect, because they will dishonor themselves if it is the wish or desire of the woman. And perfect example is like a polyamorous or an open relationship. If you don't want to be in a polyamorous or open relationship and your girl says that's what she wants to do and you say no, and she says, well, I want to do it anyways, you say bye. You say, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm moving on. I don't need to accommodate to your desires. I have self-respect. I have a high self-esteem. I can go find somebody else. But the man who thinks he doesn't have options, the man who thinks he doesn't have enough self-esteem and self-respect, he will accommodate. He will accommodate. And so they will always get walked over by women and stronger men. A simp, a beta male, a cuck, they will always get walked over by all women that show interest in them and by stronger men. And they're not competitive. Simpy beta males are not competitive men. And so they view compliancy as a form of strength. And we saw this during the coup. We saw this during 2021 when the jibby jab came out. All these weak, progressive, effeminate men, they can't compete on you on a, in regards to worldly attributes, skill sets. Maybe you're a construction worker, maybe you're a plumber, maybe you're an art, whatever it is, whatever your skill set is. Men, we compete. And we then place ourselves in hierarchies of competency. But these beta males and these simps cannot compete. And so how do they compete? They compete through compliancy. That's why they got their extra boosters. You see, the ways in which they compete is through compliance. And this is a non-competitive, inverted form of competition. That's why they'll do anything that big government daddy says. And they will go along with any propaganda that's going on in the world because they're weak. They're weak and they can't compete. And because they don't have a boundary, they're not a leader, and they don't have enough self-respect, they can't say no to even the government. They can't say no to hormones for children. They can't say no to sexual deviant men in female locker rooms. They're compliant, and because they're compliant, they view that as a sort of strength, and they view that as them having leverage over you and me. And so number five characteristic of a simpy man is, we know the adage, bros before hoes. The simp is hoes before bros, and this is why they're untrustworthy. You cannot trust a man who is a simp, because a man who puts women before long-term friendships and family is a man you cannot trust, because he will sacrifice long-term relationships for any new woman who gives him attention and walks into his life. And maybe some of us have been guilty. I mean, I wouldn't say I've ever been guilty of that. Maybe somebody listening has, but you cannot put a woman in front of all your long-term relationships. Now, she can become the number one person in your life. That's normal, especially if you're married. But she doesn't get to dictate and tell you can't communicate with XYZ, your old friend here, or your family member here. And because a man who's willing to do that is a man that will backstab anybody based on the desires of the woman. And so the woman dictates the relationships in his life. And therefore, any man who is a simp, a beta, or a cuck, They cannot be trusted. And here's a few of the behaviors then I wrote down specifically in regards to simpy behavior. One, constantly engages in likes and posts on females' online content. Do not, as I said earlier, do not like women's photos. Do not compliment how pretty they are, or how sweet they are, or how independent and strong they are. Do not. That is weak behavior. That is simpy behavior. They can't compete with other men using traditional game, charisma, external attributes, being in shape, being decently looking. And so they compete to impress women with compliments, flattery, and money. That's what's going on OnlyFans. Have you seen these guys? And we have a video that's going to be looking at simpy behavior. It's going to be mocking it. It's a meme video. But, a girl's like dancing on her Twitch stream, $500, $500, hundreds of dollars. Why are you sending hundreds of dollars to a girl because she danced on her Twitch stream? There was a thing that was going viral about some girl who was sleeping. She did a live stream of herself sleeping, and thousands of men sat there and watched it. What are you doing? These men can't compete in real life, and so they live inside of a fantasy, and they build fantasies with the OnlyFans girls they follow, with the e-thought that they follow. And therefore, they think by complimenting them and showing them how much attention I give them, I'm going to shower them with money. Maybe they'll love me. Maybe they'll think of me as a provider. No, that is simpy beta cuck behavior. Another one is often a male feminist. Often a male feminist. I am a Christian. I am not a feminist. I do not promote feminism. I think my worldview accommodates and actually provides and protects for women better than feminism does, as we can see in 2024, where, the head coach of South Carolina's women's basketball team, who just won the national championship, who's a lesbian, by the way, could not, even though you could see she didn't want to, could not say she did not support trans women in female sports. Why? Well, that's the radical wave of feminism. But watch out for the simp who's a male feminist, because they will provide what's called white knight behavior. They will come to defend women at all costs. They'll always protect women against these toxically masculine men and the patriarchy and Christianity and traditional society and morals. That is simpy behavior. That is simpy behavior. Do not be a male feminist. Do not be a male feminist. Another one is they're always subservient to women. They're always subservient. And again, you see this in the male feminist circles. And let's face it, many of these male feminists are male feminists because that's the way that they get close to engage with other women, hoping that many of them may sleep with them. That's why many men are male feminists. Let's just face it. That's a fact. And so they are always subservient to women because sexual access is the number one thing to them, because all they seek is pleasure. They tend to be overly emotional. So another behavioral characteristic of simps is they're overly emotional. And you see this when you debate with them, when you talk with them, when you push against their worldview, they can't handle it. They spurg out. They become emotionally unstable, or they like to talk about their emotions. You can ask my fiance how many times I've sat and talked with her about how I felt about something. This is actually a joke between us, because whenever we sit and talk, when she wants to tell me something about herself, it's always like, I feel. And when I want to tell her something about myself, it's always, I think, because I always like to express ideas. Even with somebody who's the closest in my life, my fiance, who I love, I do not sit and talk about my feelings to her. But beta simpy men will do it online. They will go online and talk about their emotions and their emotional state and why they're upset. Stop it. Get a little bit of a backbone, become a little bit more stoic, build up a little bit more T levels. You're weak and you're effeminate. Excessive sympathy towards women. It's kind of tied with the male feminist and the white knighting behavior, but I've just looking, a simp is somebody who's excessively sympathetic to the plight of women to the detriment of the plight of men. Another one is women place them in the friend zone. So a simp cannot avoid being placed in the friend zone over and over again. Why? Because there's no challenge for the woman. She knows you're not going to leave. You're too friendly. You pay too much attention. You're too enamored. You're too involved. You're sending too many text messages. Stop. Focus on your life. Focus on your purpose. It's okay to let her know, hey, you want to go on a date this weekend? She doesn't message back. Do not message her back. Do not, hey, did you get my text? 3 hours later, hey, just wondering, are you okay? Stop it. Stop it. Only engage with a woman to the degree that she engages with you, and don't worry about it. Move on. Have bigger and better things to focus on. So women find safety, as I said, in this new beta male simpy behavior because it's not threatening to them. They know you can't do anything. They know they have all the leverage. But deep down, they don't want you because, as we'll see today, they'll go and cheat on you and leave you after 6 years or however for a man who's more masculine and who's actually on his purpose and is actually doing things. A man who will probably say no to her because deep down, that's what every woman wants. She wants a man that's going to say no. And so often another behavioral point is they're often subversive about power. So simpy beta males are often subversive. How are they subversive? Oh, they're subversive by the fact that, you know, they'll use politics, you know, kind of the destiny. They're kind of just slippery folk. They're subversive. They promote everything that's degenerate in society, and they're against everything that's traditionally true, good, and beautiful or masculine. So be careful because they're always subversive and they're always interested in acquiring power and leverage over you. And we saw this with the COOF, guys. Look at the mask mandates. Tell me the physiognomy of the person when you go into the grocery store and you refuse to put the mask on because you're not a coward and you know it doesn't do anything. What's the physiognomy of the person that comes up to you and says, hey, you need to put your mask on? And imagine it's a man. It's always going to be a simpy, cucked beta male every time. So, and they're also insecure and they need external validation. Simps need external validation. A traditionally masculine man, yes, we get external validation through our competency, but we don't do things for that. We do things for the duty. We do it for our purpose. We don't do things for external gratification and validation. That's why women seek attention, as I'll show you with some articles here in a few. So a simp, like a woman, is always seeking external validation. And my last behavioral characteristic is they rarely speak directly and straightforwardly. A common characteristic among masculine men is when you speak directly. You speak straightforwardly. You get to the point. You don't sort of meander around with your words. It's a sign of intelligence and assertiveness. But a simp can't do that because a simp isn't assertive. And so they can never speak straightforwardly and directly. Another instance of simpy behavior. So with that being said, guys, now I want to show you one of the best examples of simpy behavior. And this comes from, as I said, it was I saw it going around X. And so I bookmarked it. And it is from the Jesse Lee Peterson. I don't watch Jesse Lee Peterson, but I had to save this, and it was perfect for our stream today. So check this guy out. And I'm not a big fan of Michael Malice and his his anarchical worldview. But check this guy out. This is 11 and 30 minutes of simpy beta male psychology.
We went for lunch one day with her parents, and she said, "I don't want to do it. I'm gonna terminate it." And what am I supposed to say?
You should have said, "Hell no, you ain't killing my baby." And are you a
Exactly, right? That's exactly what you're supposed to say.
feminist?
I used to be a feminist, but recently I have made a very large life change, and I do not identify as a feminist anymore. And that's because I have realized that feminism isn't about equality, because that's what I want, and that's what I was fighting for. And what I've seen now is feminism is about female superiority. They hate men, they hate me. They just use me as a tool, and I'm not going to have a part of it.
I don't blame you. And when I asked, who are you? You gave me your name, but not who are you, who you are. Who are you? Do you know?
I'm not sure what you mean by that question.
You said that you're going to be yourself. You're going to be who you are. and I asked,
Yes.
who are you? But you're right about the feminists. They do hate men, that's for sure. How did you come to recognize that they hate men?
Well, the breaking point was recently, a few months ago, my girlfriend of 6 years left me, and the man that she left me for was a toxic male. He was the type of male that I thought we were fighting against. But for some reason, she's gone with him and threw me to the side. And if they want to do that, that's fine, because I'm not going to participate in toxic masculinity and this type of game where you're just going to use me as bait or a designated driver to get you to your protests. And
My mate.
Oh my God. You almost feel bad for the guy. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. So he let the girl he was with for 6 years kill their baby that they were going to have together. He's upset because she left him for a more traditionally masculine, toxic masculinity. And he's wondering why maybe she left him. This is a perfect purview into the psychology of one of these deranged, simpy beta male minds.
Amazing. So you dated her for 3 years?
6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Were you guys living together?
Yes, we were.
How old are you, Michael?
I'm 32 years old.
Oh, you seem younger.
Thank you.
Why did you marry her?
That's a good question. I guess she just didn't want to.
So she didn't want to, so I didn't. Again, perfect indicator of simpy behavior, capitulating to the female. If you're a man, and I know most men here are traditional, and you want to get married and you want to have children, you want to have a family, because as a man, that's what your reputation is built upon, right? Your lineage is your identity. Having sons is essential for your family line to continue. This guy, yeah, I agree with the chat. A little sussy with the lisp there, right? He's a little sussy. He may end up he may just turn to men. I'm not sure. Let's hope he doesn't. But he just says, well, she didn't want to get married, so I guess we didn't. Well, that's part of the problem, bro. If you wanted to get married and she didn't, then you leave her. You leave her and you go find a woman who's actually going to respect you and who's going to accommodate to your wishes. It doesn't go one way. The simp only accommodates to the women. She never accommodates to him. She doesn't care.
I'm not the type to propose. I would need to be proposed to, so she never asked.
Why would you need? Men are not supposed to be proposed to, because men bring the woman into their world. He doesn't go into her world. Why would you need to be proposed to? You're not a woman.
Because proposals are toxic masculinity. That is a man putting a woman on a spot and saying, I need an answer right now. And I'm not that type of guy. I let women have the power, and I give them the power and responsibility, and I am just here to support them.
Beta.
Can we get betas in the chat, please? Betas in the chat for all the COTEL crew members. Beta in the chat for all the COTEL crew members, please. This guy is so freaking weak. Well, if he wanted to propose, you have to propose to me. What? Proposal of toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? This is, again, the red pill is accurate. Women have, they provide, they're the doorway. They give access to sex. Men provide access to relationships and marriage. That's why we propose. We choose the women. The man chooses the woman who wants to get married. She would need to propose to me. What? What? Oh my gosh. Yeah, beta.
Well, that
Jesse.
That's why your girlfriend left you, because you're a beta male. She wanted you to be a man. She wanted you to lead the way, not follow her.
But I did everything for that. Anything she asked for, I would do.
But you should never do that.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
You're supposed to lead and do the right thing, and she will follow. You're not supposed to give a woman or do everything that a woman asks you to do, because that's a weakness, and women hate weakness, hate weak men.
Well, I got a news flash for you. It's 2019. Okay, it's not 1986 anymore.
And what
1986? He thinks 1986 is that long ago. Well, I got news for you. It's not 1986 anymore. Oh my God. Oh.
does that mean? It's 2019. What does that mean?
It means that we've evolved. We're no longer stuck in the dredges of a patriarchy. We've woke up and we see what's going on, and we're not going to participate in it anymore.
So
it's a new day and age.
It means that you don't have values anymore?
Yeah, I have a lot of values, actually. Yes, I do.
But that's what they had in 18, whatever you said. It was the values. It's more values that led men and women. And so that should be the same today. Why has that changed?
Because it's not a woman's job. The values back then benefited men and men only, okay?
That's not true. That's not true. Women, when men were men and they had more values, women got their values from the men. Now that the men are weak, women have no values because they don't have any way of getting them.
Well, that's a good point, but we have Andrea Ocasio-Cortez now too.
Look how nutty she is, though. She has no values. She lives with her boyfriend. She's a socialist. She's out of her mind because she doesn't have a real man.
Well, we're going to have to disagree on that one, because I think women can be strong and independent and alone, and they don't need men. They just get a career, work, and be happy. That's it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Are you guys? It almost has to be a skit, right? From my understanding, this is actually real. This was a real call in to the Jesse Lee Peterson show. I know Mr. Scream says this guy can't be real. I hope not. This guy is screwed. I think women can be strong and independent. That's why we got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. What? Bro, you just began lamenting that your woman left you because she didn't find you masculine enough and left for a guy who's traditionally he's a toxic masculinity. Oh my gosh. Shout out to Are We Not Men, 2-month COTEL crew member. Thank you so much, brother, and really appreciate the Crucible raid. God bless you all. Logan Daly throws in $5, says, big it up, nubs. Absolutely. Let's get the nub wave going, guys. Let's get a little nub wave going. Thank you so much, Logan, for the $5 super chat. And we see our beloved sister, Rachel Wilson, gifted 5 COTEL crew memberships. Thank you so much, Rachel. That must have been during my monologue. Really appreciate that, Rachel. God bless. And Nathan McGowan throws in $10, says, simps and sex workers create an ungodly society that praises promiscuity and discourages godly chastity. Absolutely. That's absolutely what it does. And that's why simps need to be a point of contention and in the iron scope of traditionally masculine men, because we got to get these men to stop simping all the time. It is corrosive to our society. And shout out to Marcus Antonio, gifted 10 COTEL crew memberships. Thank you so much, Marcus. Really appreciate your support, brother. And Blue Juju gifted 5 COTEL crew memberships. Thank you very much, Blue Juju. Welcome, bro. Really appreciate the support. And Raphael throws in $5, says, sorry for the off-topic question, but when does Orthodoxy teach ensoulment occurs? I can't find anything on the subject. Keep up the good work, brother. Ensoulment occurs as soon as conception occurs, from my understanding. That's why in Orthodox, we are very anti-abortion, because we believe the fetus already has a soul. So that's the soul gives form to the body. And so as the body's gaining form in the womb, it has a soul to do such. So thank you very much, Raphael. And Logan Daly gives 5 COTEL crew memberships. Thank you so much, Logan Daly. Really appreciate you, brother, and all the support. So thank you. We got to get another emoji that's for simps. We got to get a simp emoji. I'll tell you, me and Andrew, he helps me. And so one of the guys that work for Andrew helps me out. I'm going to get him. Once we get enough members, I need more members. So if we got a nub wave possible, let's get a nub wave going, gifting some memberships. I will add a simp emoji for the COTEL crew. And so, and then Willie Jenkins, shout out Willie Jenkins, 13-month member, says, why are most simps also libs? Well, I think because they're effeminate. Because to have values and morals and pursue virtue, you're going to be right wing. That's the only, and I'm not saying Republican because we know that's a false dialectic. But if you want to have values and virtues, you're going to be right of center. That's the only place where they're found. As I said, all the other side does is they compete by compliancy. They comply with the LGBTQ. They comply with the trans agenda. They complied with the COOF. They comply with the mask. They comply with the jab. All they do is comply, and then they try to leverage that against you and I who refuse to comply because we're traditionally masculine. So thank you very much, Willie Jenkins. And shout out to Jessica Bowman, just became a 1-month COTEL crew. And she says, don't be a simp, guys. Be a leader, be a protector, be a man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica. And then over on the dono chat, looks like we had a few come in on the dono chat. $5 came in from Panopticon Mind, says, keep it up, brother. Your beliefs are part of a culture that will stand the test of time. Deus Vult. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Panopticon. And Marcus Antonio threw in a $5, says, it's okay to hire a white man if he's now a white woman. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Thanks, Marcus. And then Bonsai Jungle throws in a generous $50 super chat, says, been watching COTEL, Dyer, Jim Bob after finding Christ, post-occultism, and Luciferianism. Churches need more people and communities like this. I pray the lost sheep find their way back to Christ, not into materialistic delusion. God bless. Well, thank you very much, Bonsai Jungle. I really appreciate that. And then over on the Streamlabs, we had a few super chats that came in. Dr. Vagisil throws in $1 and says, simping comes from a lack of self-worth. And since we as men get our worth from how we can serve others, women take advantage by giving just enough positive feedback to keep men in a hamster wheel. Absolutely. And that's why you don't want to get in that hamster wheel in the first place. Dr. Vagisil throws in another $1 and he says, I know a lot of leftist guys that go out of their way to make fun of masculinity to virtue signal to women and wonder why they have to see a therapist for depression, all because they hate their dad and assume godly masculinity by association is also bad. True fact. Meta Ninjas throws in $5. He said, yo, what's up, Meta Ninja? Shout out to you, brother. I saw you in the chat. It's good to see you around, man. It was good to see you in the COTEL crew think tank as well. And then Jan, she throws in $1 and she says, keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much, Jan. And Storm the Cat threw in $5 and says, another thing about simps and effeminate men is they tend to be kind of nervous and anxious all the time, whereas manly men are more calm and collected. That's a great point. I should have added that. That's a really good point, Storm the Cat. And so I think that covers all the Streamlabs. We got one more that just came in from Alan Wiggs, throws in $5, says, ironically, simps don't contribute to the modern day hedonistic hookup culture because they can't get laid. So you have to give them that. Well, I would say maybe some of them do to some degree. I get your point, and I agree that they're not, simps are not the ire of attraction by most women, that's for sure. But I'm sure they're trying. I guarantee you many simps are on all those hookup apps, and a few of them get lucky. But thank you very much, Alan Wiggs. Really appreciate the support, my man. Okay, let's get back to this video. We're halfway through this guy's deranged response to Jesse Lee Peterson. Let's see what he has to say next.
Have you ever seen a strong woman?
Yes, I have. I've seen plenty of them. I've been to multiple women marches.
But men only think that women are strong because men are weak. Women are not strong. It's just that men are weak. So it looked like women are strong. Are you you're a social justice warrior, right?
I don't like to call myself that, but yeah, I suppose I am.
And Joe, could you put me on camera so you can see me? And so what does it mean to be a social justice warrior? What is that exactly?
It means that you stand up for social injustices that you see.
Like what, for example?
Like men trying to tell women that they can't abort their babies before birth. It's not your body.
So, like men telling women that killing their children is a bad thing. That's his example of social justice, is men telling women that killing babies is a bad thing. Yeah, Moloch sacrifice is a bad thing, bud. Sorry about you.
So is the baby body the woman's body?
As long as the umbilical cord is attached, yes.
So the baby body is not his own body, it's the woman's body that she's killing?
Well, a part of her body.
I'm sorry?
A part of her body.
How's a part of her body if the baby has its own body? It's not the woman's body that she's killing the baby's body.
Well, if you cut the umbilical cord, that baby would not survive because it needs the mother.
No, when it comes out alive. They cut the umbilical cord because it doesn't need the mother. So when they kill the baby, the woman, they are not killing their bodies. They're not hurting their bodies. They're killing another body, another human being. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes. But it's also a fact that babies can't feel pain before their first birthday. And we cannot expect women to carry a growing human in their body if they don't want to. If they have anxiety, if they have a depression, if they're having a hard time, they need that right. They need that out. They need that solution.
So
see, and this is the point where, like, our sister Rachel makes it, like, what about just holding women responsible for promiscuous sex? Like, why is it that it's their body, their choice to kill a baby, which is the consequence of their actions, their promiscuity, they're having unprotected sex? Because we know, based on like Florida data and what was it, 2023 or 2022, that it was like 98% of all abortions were elective, meaning there was no health risk to the woman. It wasn't rape. It wasn't incest. It wasn't from sexual abuse. It was that a woman got pregnant and she decided that she wanted to abort. That's elective abortion. And why are we not holding women responsible for the fact that they're condoning and contributing to promiscuous sex? I think, again, as a Christian, we just need to go back to no sex before marriage. I know that's not the most popular opinion, but I think that's the way in which society works the best.
Those issues give a woman a right to kill a human being in her body.
No, it gives her a right to terminate a pregnancy.
Does terminate mean that they kill? Is that person's life taken away from them when they terminate them?
Yes.
So they're killing there, right? And so you're saying that a woman has a right to kill a human being, and it's not her body, but she has a right to kill boys and girls in their bodies.
It's not like there's just random children floating around inside their bodies. They've made this baby. It's theirs. It's part of them. And if they want to end it, they should be able to.
Do they make the baby, or does the man make the baby?
The woman makes the baby.
No, women don't make babies. Women just carry them for the men. It's the men who make the baby. And
no, that is not true. That is not true.
Women don't. How do women make babies?
By growing an egg into a baby.
No, where they get it from that make the baby? Where do they get that seed from that makes the baby?
Well, it could come from a man. It could come from a fertilization from a doctor.
A doctor man?
There's lots of ways. You don't need men.
No, you do. Where do they get the fertilization from? Where did that doctor get it from?
I'm not sure. I don't work in a medical facility.
The doctor got it from another man. Some man donated his sperm, and that's how the doctor got it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Would you want your ex-girlfriend, if you guys had gotten her, did you have sex with her without being married?
Yes.
If you had gotten her pregnant, would you have wanted her to kill your child?
Well, I did get her pregnant once,
and
she did abort the baby, but She was going through anxiety at the time, and I understood.
How many abortions?
What? What? This dude was okay for her to abort his baby because she had anxiety? Guys, this is the problem with simpy beta male behavior. This is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. What? This guy has no honor, no self-respect. Again, look at the 5 characteristics that I laid out in the beginning. Number 1, no boundaries. He doesn't have a boundary except for the general narrative that is social justice, all this different stuff, feminism. He's not a leader. He's a follower. As he already said, he wants to be proposed to. He always accommodates to the woman. As he said, he was okay with her aborting his baby because she had anxiety. He has low self-esteem and self-respect. That's quite apparent. And it's hoes before bros. We don't know anything about his family or his friends, but we can already suspect that she dominated and controlled his life.
What abortion did she have?
2.
For you?
No, 1 with me.
And 1 with another man?
Yes.
Amazing. Why would you, did you know that before you got with her that she had already had an abortion?
No, I found out while we were dating.
Oh, how did you feel when she killed your child?
I was a little sad, but it helped her, so I was not going to be selfish.
So you were not going to be selfish and look out for your own child.
I would look out for my own child.
But you let the woman kill your child.
Well, it's her body. I didn't allow her. It's her body.
No,
she didn't even need to ask me.
Did she ask you?
She didn't even need to ask him if she could abort his own child. What? What? This is so pathetic. So sad. Yeah, Frankie D, dude, man, that is sad. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow.
No.
She did it without asking you?
Well, no, I knew it was going to happen, but she didn't ask me. She told me.
She told you, I'm going to kill your child? How many months was she pregnant?
I believe it was 4.
Wow. And so she just said, Michael, I'm going to kill your child tomorrow morning. And you said, okay, go ahead. See, have breakfast.
No, that's not how it went. She was having a hard time with her anxiety. She was being really stressed out. And we went for lunch one day with her parents, and she said, I don't want to do it. I'm gonna terminate it. And what am I supposed to say?
You should have said, hell no, you ain't killing my baby.
Well, we were in a restaurant and her parents were there, and I'm not going to cause a scene.
Why not? Why not?
Because it would be rude.
How poor parents did she have that she was literally discussing aborting her child in front of her, again, weak boyfriend and her parents at a restaurant? Beta.
And very patriarchal.
Which is most rude is to say, I'm going to kill your child after lunch today, or hell no, you're not going to kill my child.
She didn't say that. She didn't say, I'm going to kill your child. She said, I'm going to abort your child. There's a big difference.
It's the same as killing.
Good Lord. Good Lord.